Guru Nation, it's been a while, but we just got off of our brainstorm meeting for Latinos in clinical research, and we got a lot of interesting topics that we discussed internally. And I'm thinking this whole time, why don't we discuss some of these topics externally?
Well, I
Diversity.
guess in general, it's about sponsors doing a little bit more. They're talking about diversity and inclusion. They're actually
Yes,
putting their money where their mouth is.
they're
And
putting
I
their
thought
money
this,
where their mouth is.
yeah, and I thought this
I mean,
was a interesting article that somebody else in the industry sent to me.
And a good
And
place to start, okay? And I know Ashley, all her statements are no reflection of where she works. Same with Judy and me. Um, Now we won't name names, but is diversity still a hot topic in our industry from what you guys are seeing?
yes,
Mhm.
Okay.
yes,
Is it
and I
more
feel
so or less so than 2020?
oh, I don't think
No,
it's as much, to be quite honest. I think that the movement is maybe more,
more.
but
Yeah.
as far as the this open discussion, not so much, to be quite honest, at least in my opinion.
Why?
Um, I feel like, well, it's just what's trending. I mean, and I personally think that's like not the best thing to say, but I mean, we all know how it goes. Same thing with hot topics on anything, right? So I do think that it was a great move. What happened with the FDA and like getting things moving, and making sure that all these organizations are now like really putting the pedal to the metal on like, okay, well, now we really need to work on diversity, this or that. But I think that they're still missing the point. I feel like, okay, yes, you can hire for these departments, and you can hire the ideal backsetting for people that will hit those markers within the department, but you're still ultimately taking an individual, you are still placing the, I don't know if like rhetoric's the right word, but I'll just use it anyways, but like the company rhetoric to this person, and then you're going back out as that person representing the company in the same format. Like that's the problem. These companies already have maybe not as much diversity as they should have, but they have diversity, some diversity, and you have these individuals coming out and communicating with these sites. So it's kind of like, this is not going to make as much change. You need to involve the community. Like, I don't, understand what's so hard to understand about that. You need to involve individuals that have that connection, other organizations, whether Latinos in clinical research, Black women in clinical research, any other organizations that are out there. There's a lot of them popping up. There's so much opportunity, and yet, they're like, well, we need to discuss this. We need to figure this out. It's like, okay, well, if you're putting money in these departments, why can't you also situate funds to have some sort of affiliation of these departments to really, create the like strong collaboration? So if there is something that that department's missing or something that that company is not seeing, you have these organizations to come in and say, like, this is what you're not getting, like, hello, etc.
So,
It's the same approach. It's the same approach for the same problem that's been going on, I think. It
so
just
on a macro scale, like, okay, there's two main issues in research without even talking about diversity. It's understaffed and we need more patients,
Yeah.
right? Just period. And subcategories of those it would be nice to have diversity in those realms also. So do you think the problem is rather than just a virtue signaling, do you think the problem is they're just trying to get any patients they can and any staff they can, regardless of diversity or not?
Well, let me speak to the patient perspective because she spoke more about the workforce,
Mhm.
but I think they're missing the target. Sponsor CROs are still missing the target with trying to recruit diverse patients because they're not connecting with the community at these sites with the patients that they need to connect with. So they're not providing the assistance that the sites need to do more in the community to get these patients into these studies, to educate. If you don't educate the community about clinical trials, they don't know what it is. They're not going to participate. It doesn't matter how much you throw out at social media. If you're not letting them know what a research study is, what they're going to do, what it's about, and stuff like that, then like anything else, they're not going to, call and find out about the study and participate. Why are they going to get involved in it? And that's the part we're missing, is that a lot of these communities, it doesn't matter if our sites have been there for a long time. A lot of these people in the community still don't know what clinical research is, or they have a fear of participating because they don't understand it, or they don't like pharmaceutical companies for various other reasons, and we're not changing that dialogue. We're not changing that. We're not showing them the other side of it, and so we're not recruiting. And a lot of these sites are having a hard time recruiting. So we need a lot of support, and we can only do so much with the staff that we have. So if sponsors and CROs are trying to assist sites, they need to do more with helping us be out there in the community. Do not give me a central recruitment campaign that says they're going to do community outreach. And the community outreach they do is they send letters to the physicians in my community, but then they don't follow up with them. That doesn't help me.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean they send them junk mail?
Yes, they send
Nice.
them. A dear doctor letter.
And
And
that
then they
doesn't
tell me
work?
like, oh, yeah, exactly. They
Wow.
send 10, 20 letters out. So how does that help me get more patients in my study? And then another thing, oh, well, we're willing to support your site with anything in the community. Just let us know. Well, I thought you're there to help me find out what we can do and support me that way. So if I have to tell you what I need, then I don't need your help. I can do it myself. Like these are the conversations I'm having literally with the studies and the sponsors and these recruitment campaigns. So they exist, these recruitment campaigns, but they're not helpful. They're not doing anything more than I'm not doing.
And what comes from these two issues, right? I went more operational, you went more of like site perspective. Ultimately, it's the fact that these companies are using the same processes over and over, stamping them with a different title, having different organization meetings and, spearheading brainstorm meetings. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? But you're still having the same people behind all these ideas, same people that are coming from corporate. Right?
Yes.
You're going to do recruiting, get recruiting from sites that actually know how to do it, right? Like go to the source. Go to the source. I mean, for instance, like I know I'm not even just speaking like for our organization. There's other organizations out there. We get created because you have people that are like just fed up, and you're coming together to say, hey, we have the solution. We're willing to literally create a space in the internet so that you can hear us. And it's like, okay, well, here we are. Like, let's have a communication.
But that's why I brought it up. Like, do you think it's just virtue signaling? Like, it's the trendy thing to do now is like, let's do. That's not why we started LICR. But I'm saying, like, from the sponsor's perspective.
Yeah.
I think with some, maybe it is, but I think there are a lot that are trying to do more, and maybe they're not 100% sure exactly. Like there's so many ways, right? There's not just one problem, there's multiple problems, and there's different ways to tackle it, but it requires a community like sponsors, CROs, vendors, us to tackle this problem, not just one person. And I think in a lot of sponsor CROs are trying to figure out, okay, which way should I go first?
Yeah. And I think
how should I do this?
The issue also is that those that are wanting to do something, right? They don't know exactly how or what to do. And then on top of that, a lot of the conversations we've had before with multiple other organizations, it's just that, there's just like a lot of red tape. We need to think about it. It's like there's red tape because you guys never did this before. Right. Now with new change, you need to create new rules or new guidelines, new processes. If this is something you're actually wanting to do, you need to work from the inside out. Advertising is not the solution, right? You need to integrate with your community.
I think we're one of the organizations that want to make a change. So we're done talking about it. It's the same things we're talking about. We've been talking about for the past 2 years since we started. Now, how are we going to change it? What are we doing to make a difference within our organization, at our sites, things like that? And hopefully we start to see more of a change.
So, yes, one of the reasons why maybe we're not seeing as much action is because they don't necessarily know where to start. But at the same time, without naming names, there's some big pharmas buying some well-established site networks or SMOs, I don't even know what they are, and investing big money into these kind of projects, at least for the site, from the site perspective. And we're seeing CROs buying sites, and we're seeing IRBs owning sites, which I don't even know how that's ethical. but that's another podcast. If ethics committee is in charge of, it's supposed to be an independent ethics committee, but then they own equity in sites. I mean, I'm not like smartest person in the world, but that's a whole nother podcast. But so they are putting money into it. It's just not with maybe companies that have grassroots approaches, because these seem like established companies.
It's big business with big business. I mean, we see it in other industries too. And again, like business perspective, I see the benefit, right? Like if you want to remove yourself from like, humanitarian and all that kind of stuff, right? Like business, like that's obviously a smart move, but really it's just kind of like, are you investing, just in that aspect long term, or are you wanting to invest on all fronts long term? Because if you as an organization, yes, business wise, it's great, for metrics and overall like profitability and all that stuff. Like, of course, like that anybody can see it. Capitalism, I'm for capitalism. So whatever. But the thing is just that, when you're talking about facilitating the industry on a whole and really creating representation for your company and solidifying kind of like a rep, or however you want to put it, where you have individuals that are like, yes, this is big pharma, yes, this is big company, but they are also like walking the walk, right? They're still investing and or giving or trying to facilitate growth in other areas that they clearly have not done before. So they're open to really expanding on that front, right? It's just being a little bit more open to what's not there. And again, it comes down to the company. Like if they're just not used to those things, or if they don't have guidelines towards that, well, let's create it then, right? Let's work together to create those pathways.
All right. Anything else, or you got everything off your chest?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I feel better about the industry now after talking with you gals, and stay tuned for more. All right. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Judy. LinkedIn to both underneath. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.
Bye.